got a little update on it, and Microsoft's takeover of Activision Blizzard might be blocked. Now, the Federal Trade Commission is likely to file an antitrust lawsuit to block Microsoft's $69 billion takeover of the video game giant Activision Blizzard. So, of course, it's the maker of the hit games like Call of Duty and Candy Crush. And 3 people with the knowledge of the matter have actually had a dig into this and seeing that it could well be blocked. I mean, James, welcome to the show. We've got James Wright on the show with me from Jinx Writer. So, how do you find this kind of? It's ongoing, of course, but what do you think to it possibly being blocked?
I don't think anyone comes out of this situation looking good.
No,
it's not. Some of the comments that Microsoft have come out with in some of their court filings don't make for pretty reading. Some of the things that Sony have said also don't make for pretty reading.
No.
I think like the Epic Games and Apple court scenario that we had a few months ago, where lots of secrets came out and it just didn't bode well for either company, and I think this is kind of going on a similar trajectory.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going in any way, shape or form well. I mean, like Sony has claimed Xbox Activision deal could hurt developers and lead to price rises. So there's so many different things to this. I mean, the UK regulator recently expanded its investigation into $68.7 million deal due to the number of antitrust concerns, which outlined in a statement published last October. Now, notably, it was said that it was worried about the impact on the deal could have PlayStation's ability to compete, even though the merger could see Microsoft gaining ownership of Call of Duty series, so it could actually damage PlayStation's kind of the good thing about PlayStation really, and why they'd want to get it. So, I mean, obviously PlayStation nothing's been taken off. You know, it's not going to lose it as of now, but I mean, it's a bit of a grey area, isn't it?
I mean, like you touched on it there about them talking about the financial side. It doesn't look good saying like, oh, how much prices will go up if it goes to Xbox and stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, Sony are charging like $70 for a game. So everything it feels like they're saying to try and argue their case kind of ends up being just thrown back at them in various ways. In the same way, Xbox have said a comment that something along the lines of, oh, Call of Duty gamers aren't kind of unique or original. So it's just everyone in every part of this whole court scenario is ending up looking stupid because of everything they're doing just to try and claim ownership of in a lot of cases, I know it's lots of titles for Activision Blizzard, but Call of Duty is obviously the biggest one. And that seems to be the key piece in all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's weird because I mean, there's been quite a lot ongoing as well. We spoke about this yesterday, sort of like Microsoft and Xbox saying that we'll give you like 3 years, and then it's gone to 10 years, and now it's as long as it sells well on PlayStation, you can keep the game on your platform.
I mean, I can kind of see Sony's side to it to a degree. Like, it's one of the biggest properties in the whole of gaming.
Massively.
Even a 10-year stretch, like, okay, that's very generous. But that doesn't mean that I don't think in sort of 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, Call of Duty isn't going to still be the behemoth that it is now.
No,
and you can only see it getting bigger and more, bringing in even more money. And it's one of Sony's top, I think when it sells each year, it makes some huge amounts of money for Sony's platform. So it's only right for them, I guess, to argue their case. And as much as Microsoft will say, oh, okay, well, we're not going to make it exclusive, or it's going to still be with you for 10 years, they're obviously looking much longer term, which I can understand their point. Yeah,
because I mean, it is kind of, you know, it feels like very woolly in the fact that, you know, it's like, yeah, well, as long as it sells on your platform, you can keep it. It doesn't seem very forever, does it? But I mean, it's not going to go anywhere, I don't think.
I mean, even if it was to still be available on PlayStation platforms, because it is one of those massive games, if it was to be available on PlayStation at a kind of $50, $60 price point, but free on Game Pass,
that's the thing.
That's the big kind of factor in all of this for Sony. It's not, I guess, so much whether or not it is available, it's whether or not you're going to completely undercut them by it being free. You could make that argument for anything. Like if you've got the option of getting it free on one platform or having to fork out $50, $60 for it every year or every 2 years, you're obviously going to go for the one where you're not having to pay out, especially at a time when people are even more conscious of how much they're spending and how much money everything costs. yeah, I can.
Well,
see
that's
Sony
it. I think
side.
they're probably worried about the people that are on PlayStation moving to Xbox. I suppose that's a big worry as well.
Yeah, like Xbox Game Pass is such a big driver for Xbox platforms as it is, but they need, though, we've spoken before about how they need more exclusives, and you can't really get any bigger as a property than Call of Duty. So to be able to fundamentally say, hey, this is where you get Call of Duty for free,
yeah,
that's a big seller. Not just for, if you think more broadly as well about just more like everyday people that play video games, or people that aren't kind of so ingrained in picking up every big game every couple of months. If it's someone that just plays on their console every few months, they maybe pick up 2 games a year, or it's like mums and dads that are picking up what console to get for their kid. If you've got the option of getting one of the biggest games that every kid is going to want every year for free, it's a big seller. So
that's exactly it. It's really frustrating, and you know, I mean, Sony have made many claims as well, like saying like Microsoft's true strategy is to make PlayStation like Nintendo and things like that. But it's just small little things, isn't it?
It comes across a little bit like, I've said this to someone earlier, that it's a little bit like two parents fighting over a child in kind of divorce court. That's how it feels like, and it feels like it's getting more bitter the longer it runs on.
Absolutely, it keeps getting updated, so I'm sure that we'll be talking about it more on this show at some point, James, to be honest with you. Absolutely will. But in other news, there's going to be a new Alien AAA game in the works, and it's understood that the new Alien title, currently believed to be under the codename as Marathon, is currently being developed for current generation consoles with a AAA budget. Now, the same source who provided the documentation and concept art for the Alien title has also said that an Alien Isolation sequel is either in development or is currently being pitched. And as of March 2015, Alien Isolation has actually sold over 2.1 million copies in Europe and the US. James, Alien Isolation, have you given it a play before?
I have.
Oh my goodness.
It took forever just because of how nerve-wracking it was.
Literally, you have to take time off it because it's scary. It's so scary.
It's definitely up there, possibly as the best Alien game that's been released. And if they were, I mean, it feels like such a no-brainer to do a sequel because of how well that first one was received critically and commercially. So I can understand them fully doing a sequel to that. In terms of what else they might do in terms of AAA games, I think it would be, I'd love to see more Aliens-focused games. Yeah. But you look at some of the ones that have come out, especially in the more recent past, and they've not been great. I think when they try and steer much closer to the kind of colonial marines, kind of all guns shooting, it doesn't quite work as well. So I mean, I'd be interested to see what they do with a new AAA Alien game, but I would be far more interested in an Isolation game where it's less about kind of the guns. And
so good. And actually, because that game came out in 2015, I mean, the graphics are still brilliant. So I'm actually really intrigued to see how the graphics go for a sequel. I mean, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, what would be interesting and what I'd be more kind of interested to know is how they're going to progress it. So it's not just Alien Isolation, but more. Yeah. I'd like to see what kind of innovations they might be able to do, or what else they can do with that franchise or that title to kind of really push it in new directions. Yeah. So I think that would be the more interesting thing for me. Yeah, me too. I mean, I loved the game. I think it's a great game to play. And if you've never played it and you like your horror games and you like games that do challenge you, it's a hard game. Got fantastic teeth though when it comes out. Yeah, it's nice to see. Now, speaking of horror games, the Callisto Protocol Season Pass includes new player death animation. So I'm really looking forward to this game. It comes out next month, so literally probably in about a few days actually, because it's the beginning of December. As well as the typical content that would be expected with the Season Pass, such as a new story DLC, new areas and a mode. It also lists new death animations. And there has actually been a death animation clarity from the director, who the first gameplay trailer came out in June this year and was followed by a Schofield cut, like the name, fantastic. A version of the trailer, one later, was basically Glenn Schofield gave like a little sneaky look into the trailer and all that jazz. It was shown during a Summer Game Fest 2022. But the game looks absolutely brilliant. And with the Season Pass, you're going to get an Outer Way skin collection, a Contagion bundle, a Riot bundle, and a new story DLC as well. Now, I'm really looking forward to playing this game. How do you feel about it? I think I'm really looking forward to it. I just feel a bit unfortunate for the team that's working on it, because they've effectively made a new kind of take on Dead Space, which everyone has been looking forward to, and then a couple of months later they're going to have the remake coming out of Dead Space. But I think it definitely looks great in terms of the kind of, I don't know, anger that there might be that some of the death animations are kind of in the DLC or the kind of any extras that they might put out post-release. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. I imagine that they're putting everything into making sure that it's a brilliant game regardless of DLC. And yeah, I wouldn't get too upset about it.
No, because I think like you said, with Dead Space, the remake coming up, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it competes. But I mean, as horror games go, there's been quite a few horror games this year, and I think it will be interesting to play. I think it will do quite well. I think people will do it, especially if they are a fan of Dead Space. They want that kind of filler between the remake coming out, maybe. Yeah,
and I think a lot of the previews that I've read in kind of the last week or two have all been quite glowing in kind of everything it's achieved. I think it's probably not doing anything to really kind of push the boundaries, but from everything I've read, it looks like it has been really well put together, especially by a new studio team. They're quite, I think if I'm right in saying this is their first kind of proper big project, so to be able to deliver something that looks as good as it does on their first go, I think is kind of really well done.
Absolutely. Are you going to be playing it, James?
Yeah, if I can make it through Christmas by giving myself that many horror.
I know, your heart might not take it, you never know. Well, James, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's wicked to have you, as always, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you very soon. Thank you very much. Cheers.